All right, it is time. Okay, well, welcome and thanks for joining. And today's lesson, the theme of the lesson is strong and stable shoulder. And then in this short lesson, 15 minutes-ish, you're going to explore relationship between your shoulder, your spine, and then the pelvis. And you're going to be doing the lesson sitting in a chair. That's all you need, nothing else, right? Shoes on, shoes off, no big difference. All right, so before we begin a lesson, let me introduce myself. And for those of you who are new to my channel, and my name is Taro Iwamoto. I am a Feldenkrais practitioner. I help people overcome and move beyond pain and limitations. And if you are interested in improving your movement and learn how to move better, and be sure to subscribe into my channel and then hit that bell and to be notified every time I upload a new video every week. So anyways, let's get started. I'll give you just a few seconds and to get ready sitting. All right, so go ahead and sit comfortably and sit with your feet flat on the ground. So not crossing, heels are not coming up off the floor. Have your feet firmly touching the ground, and sit with the feet comfortable distance apart, maybe shoulder width apart, hip width apart, something like that. So they're not close together or they're not too wide apart, somewhere in between. All right, because that makes a difference. And also pay attention where you place your feet. If your feet are further away from your knees, or your feet are too close. So you want to have your feet roughly and underneath your knees, so that gives you better support, okay, for your sitting. So sitting comfortably, and so don't overly conscious about your sitting. So sit in your comfortable position. So if you have the backrest and scoot yourself forward, so your back is not resting on the back rest on the chair. So sit on the front of the chair and sit comfortable posture, not overly correcting your posture. And first, you can close your eyes and you can just listen to my guidance and bring attention to your pelvis, your sit bones, right? So feel where you're sitting on your sit bones first without changing, okay? So you're sitting in the middle, sitting in the back, sitting more towards the front. So find and become aware where you're sitting on your sit bones without changing. And then now bring attention to your lower back, your lumbar spine, and feel the shape of your lower back. Is it slightly rounded? So it's the rounding towards the back, or is it flat? Is it straight? Or is it an arch? And again, don't change it. Okay. And then what's the relationship between where you're sitting on your sit bones and then the shape of your low back? Well, that's the relationship. And then move your attention further up to your middle back, your thoracic spine. All right. And the spine between your shoulder blades. So what's the shape and how does the shape change from your low back into the middle back? Has it become more flat? Has it become more round? It's the same shape. And move your attention further up to the upper spine, upper thoracic spine, and to your neck. And observe the shape of your spine as if you're looking from the side, and how does the shape change from one part of your spine to another part. And also, pay attention to notice the shape and position of your shoulder blades. If you're looking from the side, and could you have a sense how the orientation of your shoulder blades, the shoulder blades are pointing straight forward. So is it flat? Are they flat? Or are they tilting forward? Or is the difference between the right shoulder and the left shoulder? Does one side feel like it's tilted more forward or more flat, more vertical? And what's the relationship of the orientation of your shoulder blades into the shape of your middle back, the spine between your shoulder blades. So observe that those relationships. And then the neck and the head. Where is the head? Relative to your shoulders, relative to your spine and your pelvis. Okay. So let's begin moving and rolling your pelvis slightly backwards directions. You don't have to go that far. So just roll your pelvis backwards and you're shifting your weight more towards the back, over your sit bones, on your sacrum, and then bring it back to the starting point. And slowly do that movement. Stay within a small range. Okay, all you are doing is just by moving your pelvis and then observing how that changes and influences the shape of your spine. So first, notice your lower back. And if you are holding your spine from moving, you're trying to keep your spine straight and not allowing your spine to move at all. And can you allow yourself and to move your spine also and respond to the movement of the pelvis? So as the pelvis is rolling backwards, can you allow your lower back to round backwards so that it goes backwards, right? And then return. Slowly do this movement a few times, and so that it becomes clear to you the relationship of the position and the movement of the pelvis and how that influences the shape of your lower back. And starts to shift your attention to the spine above and how is the spine above responding to the lower back, your lumbar spine. Okay, so you notice the entire spine is kind of rounding itself as the pelvis is rolling back. So you can allow your spine to round and move backwards a little, and then it come back. So now, as you're doing this movement, now begin to pay attention to your middle spine between your shoulder blades. So how is it moving? And at the same time, and notice your shoulder blades. How are they moving? And then notice your shoulders. So with the pelvis moving, rolling backwards, and how is it influencing your shoulders? So as the shoulder goes back, as the pelvis goes backwards, pay close attention to your shoulder blades and your shoulders. And if you want to watch me, I'll exaggerate. You don't have to move this much, but I'm going to exaggerate so that you can see here. Roll the pelvis back. Can you see how my shoulders are moving forward and downward directions? And this is happening not because I am intentionally moving my shoulders forward and backward directions, but it is because I am moving my pelvis in backward directions, and then the rest of my spine and my shoulders are responding to the pelvis. So you pay attention to that and see if you can notice that relationship, changing relationship. Pelvis moving backwards, and then how that is going to move your shoulders and shoulder blades. Here. Okay. Are you going to stop? Now we're going to change the directions. So instead of rolling the pelvis backwards, you're going to, not a big movement, but you're going to roll the pelvis forward directions. Okay, so begin to roll the pelvis forward directions and then start to observe the changes in the shape of your lower back. Okay, so from where you start, and then as you begin to roll the pelvis forward directions, and how does that change the shape? So if it's not clear, can you visualize your spine is actually beginning to move in a direction that it's going to arch? You may not arch depending on how far you move. but it begins to move towards that direction. So can you imagine that rolling the pelvis forward direction is going to influence your lower back, and it starts to move the lower back, your lumbar spine, into that direction of arching. I'm exaggerating so that you can kind of see if you want to see me doing the movements. And if you're doing this movement and if you are feeling a strain in your lower back, and you are probably moving a little too much, and I would suggest that you minimize movement, you reduce the movement range of motion, so you move a lot less, and also it helps to move more slowly. So it really doesn't matter how far you move, because all you are doing, well, what you're really paying attention is to observe a changing relationship, okay? And then observing the relationship between the pelvis and your spine. And in this right now, specifically, relationship between your pelvis and your low back, okay? And once that becomes clear, and then you move attention further up in your spine between your shoulder blades. So notice what happens. And if you observe your breastbone, your sternum, okay, you feel the sternum is beginning to move in a direction that is actually lifting. 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 And now pay attention to your shoulder blades. So how are the shoulder blades moving? Which directions? Orientation of the movement. Okay, from where you start moving. All right, so I'm using my hands so you can maybe see. Oops. So my hands are kind of representing my shoulder blades. So you can kind of see how my shoulder blade is moving. And again, I'm exaggerating the movement. So how I'm moving is not an example of how you should be moving. It is just to show you and just to make a point and contrast so that you can see where I start and then the direction that I'm moving. But I really encourage you to move in much, much smaller range and stay with a small range and slow movement. Okay, and now pay attention to your shoulders. How the shoulders moving. Pelvis moving, rolling forward. And notice how that shoulders in direction of the shoulders movement. Okay, so it moves slightly up and backward directions. So I put my fingers here so you can see how my shoulders moving. Here. Here. Okay, and then you can take a quick pause, stop. So now that you observe in two directions, and pelvis moving backwards and pelvis moving forward, right? And then observing the relationship of the spine and the pelvis. Spine, lower back, your middle back, and your shoulder blades and your shoulders, the relationship. So they all influence each other, right? So, and starting from the pelvis. And that's why how you sit, if you're doing a lot of sitting work, or even standing and observing how you stand and the position of the pelvis and that relationship between the pelvis and the spine, very important, because you think about stabilizing the shoulder and then you work out the shoulders because you have a shoulder issues, pain, rotator cuff, biceps, tendon, whatever, okay? And then you tend to focus so much on the shoulders that needs to be strengthened, that needs to be stretched. But then if you never pay attention to the relationship, how the other parts and how you're using other parts are influencing your shoulders, you're really not going to get that far with the stretching or strengthening exercises. I'm not saying that stretching and strengthening exercises are not good. In fact, they are necessary and they're good. But what's even more important is really to have a bigger picture and a better understanding of the whole body relationship, arm and the relationship between your arm and the other parts. So that's what we're doing right here, right? So where we are now, and now we're going to combine the direction going backwards and then forward directions, rolling the pelvis back and rolling the pelvis forward. Again, stay within the small, relatively small range, not the big movements. Going back and going forward. Observing changes in the shape of your spine and pay particular attention to your mid-back and shoulder blades and your shoulders, because that's the theme of the lesson, right? Stable shoulders, here and here. So as you are returning from the backward directions and returning and moving into the forward directions, instead of thinking about arching, thinking about lengthening your spine. Okay, so you're not really going to do this movement, right? So in a way that you are straining your back, but think about as you're coming forward and think about you are actually getting taller, longer, right? So that your spine is going to actually push. The force of the movement is coming to push through the spine, and then you get taller, right? This is something that we explore in sitting lesson as well, and finding more comfortable sitting. So the same ideas, right? Go back and forth and get taller. And then when you lengthen your spine, okay, so that you're not really overly arching your back, but you're thinking about elongating your spine. And then what happens to your shoulder blades and your shoulders, right? You often hear, I'm sure you've heard in some places, okay, when it comes to the forward shoulder posture, and then maybe somebody told you, pull your shoulders back, or pull your shoulders down in the back. And the problem with that is that you don't pay attention to other parts, and you only pay attention to this, and how awkward is it, right? So in fact, if you roll your pelvis backward directions, okay, and then you're going back, you do this one right now with me, so you can actually feel it and how awkward that is, all right? So if you're maintaining that same position of the pelvis, right, habitual direction of the pelvis, sitting back, okay, so the low back is rounded a little bit, okay, and then your idea about changing your posture of the shoulders is pull your shoulders back. So you can try it. And try it now, in fact, okay? And so roll your pelvis back and then kind of round your back a little bit. You can exaggerate so you can actually feel it, okay? And then you pull your shoulders back. So what's the effect? What's the effect on your neck? That comfortable? I mean, extremely uncomfortable for me. So then you let that go. And then you start to actually change the position of your pelvis. And then allow the spine to get longer. Right? So now you change the relationship between the pelvis and the entire spine and your shoulders and in your neck and head, right? So now, and take your time, and I'm kind of going fast because it's a short lesson, but you can watch it as many times as you like, and it's really helpful. It's even though this is the shoulder lesson, but it is also related to your sitting posture, right? And also, watching a sitting lesson, it helps with the shoulder lessons as well, because they're all connected, all related. So as you learn to lengthen your spine so that your shoulder blades are more vertical, right? Not because you're pulling the shoulder blades back, but because you change the relationship, okay? In a way that you have a better support for your shoulder blades. And I'll let you experience and feel the difference, right? So from here, you can, let's just use your right arm. And I'm using my right arm. You can use the right or the left, it doesn't matter. But lift your right arm and raise it up to the shoulder height or so, and hold it there, okay? And so feel how your arm is supported now. And then hold your arm in the same place. And then begin to roll your pelvis back. You don't have to extend your arm so rigid. Have your arm a little relaxed and keep the elbow slightly bent so it's not so tense. Just hold your arm in front comfortably. And then roll your pelvis back, but without lowering your arm. Keep your arm at shoulder height, and then roll your pelvis back slowly, slowly, slowly. And then round your spine, round your back, okay? So you notice that right shoulder has come up and closer to your ears. And you hold it long enough, then you start to feel the strength. Where do you feel the strength now? And how supported do you feel? Okay. Is your arm well supported? Does it feel strong, stable? Right? And if you can use your left hand and then just apply a little bit of pressure, downward pressure, so you can feel resistance, okay? So feel it. Just not a lot of pressure, just press it down a little bit. And then feel the effort. I feel a lot of effort in my shoulder and my neck. Okay, lower your arm down without straining it. Okay, and just leave it. Well, it's going to be finishing up very, very shortly. We'll do just one last thing. Okay, so just rest your right arm. Okay, and now you can start with your pelvis rolled backwards. So you're round in the back, shoulders kind of coming forward and back, forward in upward directions. And then you lift your right arm up, raise your arm to the shoulder height, right arm shoulder height. Okay, and then from here, and now you begin to roll the pelvis forward in a direction to allow the spine to get longer, but keep your arm at the shoulder height. Okay, so here. So feel the weight of your arm, and how do you perceive the weight of your arm? Does that feel lighter? Does it feel better supported? Does it feel more stable? And then you can apply the downward pressure with your left hand. So feel how strong your arm feels, right? Because you are connecting, you're anchoring your arm to the spine and downward into the pelvis, right? So you have a much, much better support. So if you're to carry something, right? And this is a very, very strong and stable position to be. Whereas you change the relationship, you roll the pelvis back and then change the relationship between the pelvis and the entire spine and your arm. And then now from there, you apply the pressure. You have no strength because guess what? Your arm is now anchored to your neck. It doesn't have much support. So what are you going to strain? Your shoulder, your neck, right? Not going to be happy. That. All right. So that's it. It's about 15 minutes, right? Very short lesson. So you can do the left side and you can also explore if you're left-handed and you can do the testing, changing the position, just explore and experiment and how that changes a subtle, this changes in the position just even a little bit. And then you notice how that impacts stability and strength of the shoulder, right? So this is not really a strengthening and stretching exercises. But if you are doing some strengthening exercise, doing some weights, it really has, this has a benefit, and you can apply this concept and principle into your strengthening exercise. So if you're doing a strengthening, you're going to be much more efficient, and you're going to be much more effective without straining, okay? You're going to actually build up the strength that you need in a safe and helpful way. All right, so thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy this lesson. And I appreciate if you can comment below and or anything, what you experienced, and if you found this lesson helpful, just any comments, what was not clear or what you like, that would be very, very appreciated. I'm looking forward to seeing your response via feedback. All right, so that's it. Again, if you are new to this channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell and to be notified when I upload the new video every week. Anything else? Let's see. Oh yeah, and then if you like this one, and please hit the like button. All right, and share with the friends. Great. So hope you enjoy the lesson, and thank you for watching this video and doing the lesson with me, if you are. And so see you in the next video, and happy mindful movement. Bye-bye.